Well, that is Njabala, the folklore. Now we are going to be transforming that into a storyline or a play, and an exhibition, if you will, that is going to be taking center stage on Tuesday. That is next week on International Women's Day, courtesy of Martha Kazungu, the curator. She's here with me, and one of the actresses within that play, that is Pamela Inyonu. Yeah, you're going to be taking part, am I right?
Yes, I am going to be taking part.
They are both here. She's going to break down what the Njabala storyline was all about in English, because what you did see was in Luganda, because that is a Chiganda or Luganda folklore from back in the day. We did read many of those back in those times, in the 1990s. Go ahead, Martha Kazungu. Njabala.
Yeah, thank you. So the story is quite complex. I mean, some people say now, like you just had her saying that two children.
Two siblings.
Two siblings, and one is trained and one is not trained. But the one I heard from my grandparents was that there was just one girl.
An only child.
An only child who was not taught how to take care of a home. And when she went in this family, she was not able to deliver to the husband, and that was problematic because eventually the husband discovered and she was dismissed. And this story is a cautionary tale to all girls to be ready for marriage, so they can serve their husbands and that they can have a perfect adulthood, so to say, because in so many contexts, marriage is like the highest epitome of, I don't know, of achievement for any woman, right? Indeed. And so you have to be trained as early as 6 to learn how to do everything, because you may be like in Njabala and you may be evicted from your marriage.
Indeed. And of course, we are trying to break down all those stereotypes, the socio-constructed norms, the fact that a woman is supposed to be in the kitchen, a woman is supposed to be sweeping the house. No one talks about Njabala going for an education. No one talks about Njabala inheriting her father's property. Instead, because she's a woman or a girl, she's actually shunned by all that. So let's try to bring out the message behind all that. There's been a message that our great-grandparents were trying to teach us using the folklore. But you as Martha, you're noticing something and you're saying, no, that's not right. We need to be changing it. We can't glorify the suffering of Njabala. Am I right?
We cannot. And let me tell you something. For us to begin calling ourselves Njabala first, it's a resistance of sorts, because Njabala is a bad character.
All right.
Right? So no woman would like to be Njabala.
The slay queens.
No one would like to be Njabala because she's a bad character who is going to be dismissed. But when we say Njabala, we're trying to say, look, we want to revert this narrative that women are some kind of objects that can be set to do whatever the society wants them to do. And for me, I thought that this problem we find ourselves in today dates from ages ago, from these folk tales, right? So thinking about why is it that even today we find women abused in all sorts of domestic violences, at jobs, you know, everywhere. How did this start? So I'm saying, what do our folktales tell us about this place where we are in today? And so in my exhibition that curating at Makerere Art Gallery, I am seeking inspiration from this folklore, but to think about a contemporary meaning towards it. Okay,
let's break down the folklore itself. What is Njabala? What does it mean?
So Njabala is the name of the main character, so to say, right, in the story, and she is portrayed as an obnoxious wife who cannot serve the husband.
We're in Buganda now.
Yes, in Buganda, and so she is not able to do anything, and then she has to call on the help of the mother to come and help her.
The mother who died.
Yes.
So the ghost comes back to help the young lady.
And for me, there's a problem with this, right? That Njabala is by default thinking that by the fact that she cannot do anything is the mother's fault. Right?
The mother didn't teach her anything.
The mother didn't teach her anything. And even in death, it's still the mother's responsibility to come and fix the daughter's life. And even today, you see how mothers struggle with like motherhood, right? Fine, there are people who bring these people to life, but then the mother has to stand in and, you know, be responsible even more. Right?
Are we arguing that society should have stepped in to help Njabala instead of calling on to someone who died already, a ghost,
and Njabala
to come and help her?
had two parents, right?
Indeed.
Why is it that it was the mother's responsibility, even in death, to come and correct this situation? But even more interesting, in Njabala's mother's, the mother came back to life to help the daughter to fix the life. But still, she did not critique the system. She told Njabala what to do, and she's like, this is how you cook, this is how you mop, this is how you sweep, to tell you how, like, Our parents are used to this narrative.
Like the roles were cast in stone.
Exactly,
this is what you're supposed to do.
Exactly, and they cannot change it. And even today, many of our parents are really, they have conformed to this reality because they don't know better. You know,
my role is confined to the kitchen.
Exactly,
I'm okay with it.
exactly.
The bedroom, I'm okay with it.
And so many women actually do not feel convinced by me telling them that they can have an opinion, that they can, you know, aim higher than marriage, because this is what they've been told for so many generations. And then how do you come, you're, I don't know, 28 or whatever, and you're telling me this is how you should live your life?
Well, of course, the man, whenever he would come back and find that Njabala hadn't executed all her domestic chores, he would butter her, he would beat her. So domestic violence and so forth. Let's unpack what we learn from this folklore. With you, Martha Kazungu, then I go to Pamela.
Yes, so what I do with this exhibition is I'm thinking about the contemporary today in 2022. How does this story resonate with us as women in Uganda? And how can we, because I feel like Njabala's mother's role in this story is quite critical. She comes back to life to support the child, right? Just like now, we women have a role to play in changing our situation, right? And in this exhibition, I'm inviting 8 women artists to respond to this story. But in this way, they are reenacting the role of Njabala's mother.
Let's not go to the exhibition, Martha.
Yes.
Let's first stick to the folklore itself.
Yes, because
what do we learn from the folklore?
So the folklore is this. It's emphasizing the role of the woman, right? Mother-daughter relationship, right? In this whole story, there is a daughter and there is the mother. And the two are learning from each other. You see, so I'm getting, for me, this is like my focus point, right? So I'm learning that how do we, if we want to change anything in society, we have to think about these relationships, right? Because all of us have people we consult. When you have a situation, whom do you go to first? We are trained to always think about our parents. And so this is for me like the focus point. But the story emphasizes that the situation we find ourselves in today is not new. It's been centuries, generations of suffering, of silencing, that
unpaid work and so forth.
Exactly. I mean, labor, rest. Think about rest. If a woman rests, she's lazy, right? Even in the story, Njabala is lazy. So, I mean, we have so many things to get from the story of Njabala, and it's going to be a long-term project, because for every iteration, we're going to have like a focus theme. And this current exhibition, we're going to think about silence, you know, because women are trained to keep quiet. Sirika, you know, shut up. So women try to be enduring, they try to be like, to get it all in and not bring it out. And that has caused so much havoc in families, in emotional capacity of people, and even mindsets. What can you aim to do, because what's possible, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I can't speak about the folklore without speaking about the exhibition, because for me it's like...
Indeed. And I could tell you that one thing I learned from that folklore, domestic violence has no place in our society. The fact that the man would go to a hunting station, come back, there is no food, nothing has been done domestically, and he's beating the woman. That was no way to treat a woman. And Pamela, what do you learn from this folklore?
I mean, for me, I've been interrogating this story for about 2 years now.
All right.
And I'm even going to have a solo exhibition after this exhibition. And there are 3 things that come up for me. 1, what is the value of a woman in a home? Are you domestic labor? Are you a caregiver? Do you have equal rights in this home? Because for me, Njabala comes into this marriage already a rich woman. As an only child, she should have inherited her parents' property. But she comes into this child. But because she couldn't perform X, Y, and Z, immediately she's of no value and chased out of the home. The second thing that I interrogate about this story, the normalizing of these things we call culture. When we normalize domestic violence, and these myths normalize domestic violence, you've had lots of men saying, just correct her a bit, correct her a bit.
With a slap, yes.
With a slap, it's infantilizing women. And it happens to all women. So in these contemporary times, you still find a woman who has a PhD, very well accomplished, but because she does not do X, Y, and Z, her value is almost nothing. Despite having all those accolades. All those accolades and things. Then also it comes back to the labor of women. Who owns the labor of women? I have stories whereby a man tells a woman, I know you've gone to work, but you cannot enter this house without your checkbook. or without the money you've worked. I come from the north. There are a lot of women who are working, but to stay in their home, they must remove some money to facilitate their husband's drinking.
Well, of course, we've heard of that. They go to the fields, till in agriculture the whole day, the whole season, and at the end of the day, who sells the proceeds?
Exactly.
The man.
So you find that even statistically speaking, 70% of women produce the world's resources.
They do.
But only a fraction, like not even 10% own the world's wealth.
Indeed. The money doesn't trickle back to
The money doesn't trickle back. So you ask yourself about all of these things. And for me, this folklore helps us, first of all, do two things. Root our new problem solving in things we know. And two, use our familiar stories to interrogate these stories that we were told from a young age. So if we're going to change our mindset, we need to start with the stories that we've used to normalize some of these behaviors.
Pamela, how timely are these stories to you?
I think they're extremely timely. We just came out of a pandemic where girls were raped, and for me, I find the conversation around molestation and all these statistics one-sided. We know numbers on girls who have been raped, girls who have been pregnanted, women who have been beaten, but do we know who beat them? Are there any numbers on how many men have molested girls? Are there any numbers on how many husbands have beaten their wives? So this makes it a very one-sided...
And the numbers that we have are only for those victims who managed to go to a health center.
Exactly.
Others were silent, like
exactly.
we are saying,
Exactly.
and they're
So
suffering in their
the
house.
story is one-sided. So you know what that makes it seem? We don't ever interrogate the instigators of this violence, this molestation, because we take them out of the equation, out of the mathematics. If you tell me 110 girls have been impregnated during COVID, did they impregnate themselves? Do we
Actually, 600,000 of our young girls were impregnated in the last 2 years, and we also do know that a considerable number, around 20,000, were actually married off early.
Exactly. So, but where are these people? It's like this whole story about corruption. We've been corrupt this much, but where are the arrests? Where are the court cases? Where, like, this one-sided story in problem solving is not helping anybody.
The $64,000 takeaway from this folklore, I imagine, Martha Kazungu, is that silence is complicity. The fact that you keep quiet, you're also part of the crime. The fact that society kept quiet when Njabala was going through all these problems, they were part of it.
Absolutely.
Talk to us about that. Society and how they can, get involved in trying to tramp out this problem.
I think for the woman's problem, everybody notices the things, right? Yesterday I was speaking to radio and someone was telling me, look, you're telling us that women should be equal to men, and this is not my story. I don't know about equality, right? I'm talking about the opinion of a woman mattering. Right, and the woman having the value and the ability to make decisions of their own, right? Because stories like Njabala make women aspire, and young girls as early as 6, 7, to think that, oh, the only thing I can be is the perfect wife.
I see.
To my husband, right? You go to university, you write your degree, and you wait for that man to knock on your door. Imagine that kind of misery, right? Because what happens is when these girls go to these marriages thinking that the only way they can survive is with the man supporting them, then they can endure the violence. When a man beats you, you have to stay there. I mean, otherwise, there's no other option for you, right?
But you and I know very well, Martha Kazungu, if we are to do away with this problem, society needs to be involved. I've been in Nansana municipality for the last 1 year doing some kind of research on the people within that area, and I could tell you that there's a lot that is happening there. Women are being raped, children are being defiled. A woman was raped within that area. She cried the whole night. You understand? I thought police went there and so forth. The next day, I went to talk to the woman, asked, what happened? Were you raped? I heard you screaming last night. And she said, yes, something did happen. Then I said, why didn't you say anything to the authorities or something? She said, well, I was afraid of being ashamed.
Exactly.
She was fearing the reprisals from the society, people hearing that, you know what, person X was raped within the area. So everyone knew in the area that this woman was raped, but they didn't do anything. Society is exacerbating the problem.
Because, you know, the problem of the woman is so bad.
They even know the criminals.
Yes, the criminals are known. But when the woman speaks out, she's a problem. You invited the man, you know, you triggered this thing to happen. It's always like if a man cheats, it's fine. But if a woman cheats, you know, you're not giving him what he needs from you, right? So it's always like we've been programmed that we are always the victims, right? And not so many women are willing to stand up and say, look, I'm going to fight for this. And with this kind of exhibition and kind of talks, we try to inspire people to aim a bit higher and feel like they can seek for help, they can be understood, and that they can always find ways to navigate this, because it's been there for centuries.
When you're navigating these folklores, who do you seek to speak to, Martha? Whom are you targeting?
I think, firstly, I'm targeting the women themselves, because I feel like we've consumed so much negativity, and we've been taught to endure this negativity. But also, of course, the man is also a target for this story, because for me, it doesn't make sense for a woman to be emancipated and then they come back to an abusive man, right? So I'm trying to say, look, can we live as adults? Because at the fulcrum of this exhibition, I mean, of this folklore, is love. It's a couple. So what can we think about love as a notion, right? Why do we forget that there's love from the beginning? So there's a marriage, there's a couple, and there's love.
But this wasn't love at all. Because
yes, but
to the man, love was, you know, a woman who is going to be orchestrating or executing the domestic chores in a very, very verified manner.
Yes.
To him,
yes,
a woman he loved should have been able to wash utensils, clean the compound. To him, that was
exactly
love. And in my assessment, that was never love at all. And that's what we learn as men. That should never be an assessment for you to actually choose any partner. If she can't cook, that shouldn't be the reason. If she can mop, if she can... No. It's about the heart. You love this person, she loves you. You can buy a washing machine if you want.
I like the modern takeout of this.
Martha.
yeah.
Go ahead, Pamela.
Oh, yeah, I really like where you're going with this, because for me, at the end of the day, it's a partnership. The truth is that our households right now cannot be one breadwinner.
Indeed.
We all have to put hands on the table and make sure
support each other.
and support each other. And the truth is that it's very easy. There's if you've heard of the theory of hidden labor,
all right,
a lot of women's labor in the home is not accounted for, and yet unpaid work. A woman washes your clothes, a woman raises your child, so you can go out and contribute to the GDP.
Indeed.
And stories like this, for me, I think create a safe space for us to actually have these day-to-day questions. How do you solve conflicts in a marriage? Is beating the first way to go?
Thank you.
Exactly. And the fact that a child is not good at doing these domestic chores. Have you raised your son to take care of themselves?
Thank you.
Women have been raised to be rehabilitation centers for men. A man comes, he cannot take care of himself at all. And you're supposed to, literally you have a child and then you have a man-child, you know, to take care of. I think it's time we taught our sons that, you know what, you can be more.
I remember when my mother was trying to teach me all those chores, she said, Romeo, just in case you end up with a Njabala 20 years from now, I need to make sure that you can actually do utensils, cook on your own, just to be secure in that regard.
20 years from now, we're speaking about Njabala.
Indeed. But visual art has not had the kind of impact like performing arts, and would like to know why.
I think that's a very difficult question, but I think for me, I'm always very honest with this question. I think Uganda has more urgent situations than the luxury of art. And so it's very...
By urgent, you mean?
By urgent, I mean, you can't expect a lady to leave her stall in Kalere to hop on a border to come to Makerere to see an art exhibition and feel like, oh, I'm seeing art.
I agree.
You see?
I agree.
Because for her, what makes sense is the lukumi for that day.
Thank you.
To pay for her fees, to pay for her bills and everything. And that's why when we speak about Njabala folklore, for example, without even her coming to the exhibition and her seeing me like on TV or on radio, she is activated to think that, oh, there's something going on.
Indeed.
Right, so we want to think about different forms of artistic expressions, not only just like the visual paintings that you can find on the wall, but think about performances. Yesterday we were doing a performance downtown in Banda, in the market, and ladies were just like wowed by the... It
was just impromptu, you just showed up and just set up all your equipment and you started.
Yes, and we just like went through with like, I mean the artist. Yes, the artist's story, she's talking about like the weight of marriage, the weight of the gown, literally and walking the aisle in the streets of the market where the aisle, and she was performing this, and the women was so like attracted. Well, the gown is nice. Where's the husband? Where's, you know? And it was very, very interesting because these women would never ever have the chance to come to a gazetted space to see an exhibition. You know, so all these things we have to keep in mind, but also we have to inspire our audiences that art can also be Ugandan. And partly why Njabala for me is also very key is because many Muzungu struggle to pronounce it. They say Njabala, Njula. I'm like, cool! Because many Ugandans think that, you know, art is a Muzungu thing. It's such a fate. That's not ours, right? So for me, getting a theme from like a Ugandan context, I'm also trying to remind our audiences that art is first ours before it can go anywhere else. And we can inspire a story that come out of our country.
Pamela, visual art has not had the same impact like performing art. I'd like to get your 2 cents on that. What do you think is the problem there?
Well, first of all, visual art has been redefined to us from a colonialistic lens.
I know, right?
They've put it in a white cube. The way our ancestors accessed visual art, it was at home.
Indeed.
We experienced it in our home, so we didn't have to go from place A to place. Now, when we took this thing, visual art, we put it in a white cube, and already that is exclusionary. Indeed. How do I come to this white cube with my gomesi, with my matoke, which I've been hawking? So already I feel excluded from the conversation as an artist. So I think the reason why is that we've not cemented our value in the Ugandans' lives or society's lives as visual artists. Already we think, oh my God, they don't understand it. So we don't even make an effort to try and reach out to them in their spaces. We are very indifferent to how to access them. And yet music is so accessible. It's on the radio. Yeah, I'm burning a CD at my near friend's flat. So it's in my face. You know, it's always around me. While visual art, I have to move from point A to point B to be able to access this thing. So I think as artists, we need to make an effort, one, to first of all inspire people to even come to see art during leisure. I always tell people, if a Ugandan can move from Entebbe, from Kampala to Entebbe, agenda to beach, I get fish. They can come to a gallery in industrial center. But we have not inspired them to do that. A Ugandan has money to go to South Africa.
Oh, they don't even have information that something is happening.
Exactly. They have money to go to South Africa, to go to Dubai, but they will never come and buy an art piece of, say, $500.
No patriotism.
Oh, you know, these things. So, but it's because we have not talked. Romeo, have I ever invited you to an exhibition?
I've been invited several times to the UNCC, just down here.
Okay. Yeah. Now, we need to change that. If I invite you, you will invite somebody. You will not come alone.
I'll come with an army.
You come with somebody. and I think we need to normalize this whole thing of like, what are you doing this weekend? Can we go to this place and check out that exhibition that's happening?
Yes,
can we go to this? And for me, like
so information sharing is going to be key in the development of this sector.
It's extremely key. It's extremely key in us normalizing seeing art.
Indeed.
Seeing art, learning from art, that makes us empathetic. It makes us see the world in different ways. It makes us appreciate beauty, you know, all these things. So we need to normalize it with our kids. You know, where are you taking the kids? You're taking them to a bouncing castle.
Indeed.
Take them to a gallery. Stimulate their little minds as they look at all these different lovely colors.
And get acquainted with our history.
Yes, yes. Like, start changing the way you spend your leisure. And I'm focusing on leisure because that's gazetted time.
Indeed.
For having fun.
Yeah.
Pamela Inyono, let's also bring in Martha Kazungu. We do have the Njabala exhibition on our hands. That is on Tuesday next week, International Women's Day. We do have a program on our hands. She's going to be breaking it down for us. Martha Kazungu, Ira the Granary, will be taking center stage early on Tuesday. So take us through the program for the day.
I want to first speak about the experience very, very briefly.
Please do.
Because for me, it's very important that our audience can understand that we want to bring a memory to the past, but we want to know how does that memory affect today, and how can we utilize this memory to change the situation, the status of women and womanhood. And we thought Women's Day would be a perfect day to have this launch of this exhibition. And so in the exhibition we have 8 artists. Each of them are responding to different kind of, how can I say, problems affecting womanhood. She's talking about the silence. As you've seen, she's very articulate in her speech. There is paintings, there is photography, there is installation, there is performances, there's poems. You know, we have like a wide variety of mediums, so you cannot miss this exhibition at Makerere Art Gallery. And in the morning at 8 a.m. we want to do a rest session, because women are working so hard and no one is acknowledging this this work, and we're thinking, what happens when women rest, you know, and what is resting for a woman anyway? Is it even conceivable? Can a woman rest? So we are inviting, this is a very small group of women who are interested in the theme of rest, and they'll be at one of the artists' studios in Buloba. And we have like, we'll share tea and some bites and speak about like rest and the medium of rest and what does that translate. And this will be a theme for next year's exhibition. So we want to do annual exhibitions, and next year we shall be having a show on rest, basically. So different artists will respond to this in different ways.
I see.
And then at 4 p.m. there will be the opening of the exhibition, where there's like guest of honor and there's speeches and the artists are around in the space, so you can see the artwork. And then at 5:30 we invited the Echo Minds poets. They are a group of women poets who speak about different issues affecting womanhood, and they'll be presenting their 7 poems. And then thereafter we'll have like an after party of sorts, like dance, music. So because we are launching this, and we think that this is supposed to be begin in high gear. In high gear, so we have to celebrate this. We've been
with a high tempo.
We've been planning this for more than 2 years, but because of COVID, we had to extend and extend and extend. And you know, for me, this is good that we start even with a celebration.
Because the time is now.
Exactly.
The execution couldn't be more timely than it is right now. International Women's Day is ahead of us. That is the 8th on Tuesday next week. Pamela Inyoni, before I let you go, you could just talk to the viewer out there who is watching Morning at AT NTV. Your last pointers for us.
Oh, God. Yes.
What role will you be playing on Tuesday next week?
On Tuesday, I am a visual artist. I'm part of the exhibition. Come see the work. We have different types of work, like she's explained. I will be exhibiting some paintings. All right. I've also written some poems, because we are very oral community. We like to speak, so there will be some poetry. And I urge you guys to come with an open mind. Don't be combative, because all the time we talk about these issues, there's a tendency to be combative about this. Come with an open mind. Feel free to ask questions, because we'll be there to answer your questions. Anything you don't understand, please feel free to pull an artist aside and be like, what is this all about? It's free entry. Yes. So anybody is welcome. It doesn't matter what walks of life you come from. Just come for the exhibition, have a good time, and see you there.
Pamela, I also want you to speak to the parent out there who has it in his mind that a girl's future is only in the kitchen, in the compound sweeping, and so forth, doing domestic chores. Talk to that parent right there.
Yes, thank you. I know it comes from a good place, and I know you want the best for your child, but I also need you to understand that your child is more than domestic labor. She's more than what the story society has written for her. She's an astronaut, she's a lawyer, she's a musician, she's a dancer, she's all these things. She's not just one thing. So please don't be tempted to typecast her. Allow her to flourish in all her greatness. And also, your sons are capable of so much more than you think. They are capable of cleaning their clothes. They are capable of cooking their food. They are capable of being decent human beings. If we're going to raise an equal world, we need to raise emancipated sons and emancipated daughters, because the truth is that these things don't only affect girls, they affect men. If a man comes into a relationship and he only thinks his value is his wallet, we are sorry. Because this is how men get frustrated, because when they can't give money, then they think they are useless.
Pamela Inyonu, thank you so much for that last submission. And also Martha, to the curator of Njabala. We shall be there on Tuesday next week, Makerere University. First thing in the morning, I'll be there for Era the Granary to get through all those, proceedings, so that I could be able to relay those messages the next day right here on Morning at NTV. Right now, thank you so much, Martha and Pamela, for making the time to actually speak to Morning at NTV. This is actually very, very, very welcoming.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you so much.
And indeed to you, the viewer who has been with us on this journey since 6:30 a.m. up to now. Yes, that undeterred support and love is actually well cherished right here on Morning at NTV. To all the kings, queens, boys and girls who are celebrating their birthdays on this Friday, I'd like to wish you a joyous one, but be cognizant of the fact that COVID-19 is still here. You can pretty much still get sick and succumb to the same. And also the Ukrainian invasion is pretty much still on. Yes, we also do know that Kherson did fall, Mariupol is under siege, Chernihiv is being shelled and so forth. Those details will be coming your way on NTV at 1. For now, have yourselves a blessed morning.